Hello, Con. Great to be here. I think a sign of how big this thing is the fact that a couple of weeks ago I was at the biggest betting conference in the world. A couple of weeks before that, I was at one of the biggest sports conferences in the world. So hopefully, in a couple of years from now, you remember this moment as being an epic moment where you saw the light, you understood how big this was, and you grabbed the opportunity, and it made you famous in your company, and maybe even famous overall in the world. So this might be an epic moment that we're together here. And today, I've got a lean and mean panel of two people. A third panelist dropped out. That's how busy the world of eSports is. But I hope we're going to share some facts and figures, but also trends behind eSports, because it might be bigger than you even can imagine. But let's get going. So in a space like the game space, which is so fast changing, you require a specialist to give you some guidance and to provide some trends, facts and figures. And that's the company that I founded together with my teenage friend. He's not a teenager now, but we used to know each other when we were a teenager. Called Nuzu, and we tried to keep ahead of the curve. And back in 2013, we started to report on eSports when everybody was talking about the next-gen consoles. But we said the PC platforming is giving power to the people. And that's what this is about, is giving as much power to the people as possible. And what do you get? One of the things is eSports. I couldn't ever imagine to have clients like the Bundesliga, Madison Square Garden, but that's because those guys are taking up eSports in a big way. So the missing panelist today, who was so busy, from MTGX, they invested over 100 million last year in event organizers that do only eSports, of which ESL is the biggest. And just to give you an idea what eSports is about, here's a brief movie. Thank you, Arndt. You couldn't be here, but a great movie. So you saw a stadium there full of people. You saw the lines outside, and that was in Katowice, in Poland, where I think it's 2 weeks ago in the weekend, there were 100,000 people that visited eSports over the weekend in the stadium over there. And it's not that a big event is so unique, but the frequency of big events is increasing enormously at this moment. And the viewers at home, of course, there's a lot more of them. And just to put some figures behind that, so there's about 115 million people in the world that watch eSports on a regular basis, say weekly at least. And then there's another 100 million who we call occasional viewers. And they watch, on average, twice a month. And this is very comparable to sports. I'm a sports fan, so I watch every week. My wife is an occasional viewer because she only watches the World Championship. So there's a lot of comparison to sports, but as we will see today and discuss, there are also differences. And when it comes to media rights and that sort of thing, there might be differences that we need to solve in this room today. More about that later. Majority of that audience is actually in Asia. But if you look to the money, and this is money not being earned by the games, money generated outside of the games. So merchandising, ticketing, online advertising, and only 2% is media rights at the moment. And as you might know in sports, I think it's 40 to 45% is media rights, and there's no direct online advertising revenue. It's not a mature market yet. That is your opportunity. As you can see, the money is being earned in the West. So esports originated in Korea, but at the moment, the majority of money is being earned in the States and in Europe, all by brands and advertisers. I was in Poland at that event. Why? Because ESL invited me and a couple of colleagues to show sponsors what the value is of the audience. And it turns out that 40% of the people that watch esports do not play those games. They might play some mobile games, but there's an audience, just like sports, that isn't an active participant. And that audience skews older, richer, is more in a family situation, and that's super interesting to sponsors that were all there in Poland, from McDonald's to Visa, they were all there. But will this is not a lot of money, $500 million for you guys. Will this grow faster? And a lot depends on what you do with it, and a lot depends on what companies like Machinima do with this, taking it to TV. Next movie is by Machinima.
Sports all my life. I feel like Creed when I'm running in the snow. Just like playing a fighting game. The mental is the same, but the conditioning and what it takes to be the best.
I'm a born competitor. I can outplay anybody at any time. Yeah! Obviously, to me, family is number one, and I'm compete for my family.
I don't know that many wives that would let their husbands leave to go play video games a week after delivery.
I have multiple medals, this being the Evo medal. It's the most important medal that you can get in a fighting game.
I updated my dating profile and I included professional gamer.
I think my parents are not the most supportive as far as gaming is concerned. They want us to get real jobs.
I'm Sonic Fox, and I'm the reigning ESL Mortal Kombat X champion. I'm like the LeBron James of Mortal Kombat X. I can pay for college.
How cool is that? That's a product of James, who's going to be on stage soon. So James is at the forefront of digital community forming around games, a long time ago, and now they are taking competitive content to the mainstream, to the TV, actually. And here you see that this is your challenge. So you got enormous amount of esports fans already, rising fast. But if you calculate how much revenues are generated by those fans, it's $3.50 this year. So on a yearly basis, it generates $3.50, ticketing, advertising, whatever. If you do the same math for the best monetized league in the world, the NFL, $12 billion, divided by the number of fans, you get $60. If you do that for a sport like basketball, you get $15. So you can see, you can sort of calculate where the cap is or where the ambition should be. So we, as a research company, we take a conservative scenario, but you could easily, and that's what we're tracking, see that the revenues per fan go up. So it could easily jump to $1 billion way earlier than we expected. And actually, we did not expect companies like the BBC, Turner, Fox, ESPN to jump on it this year as big as they're doing now. So I guess we need to adjust our estimates upwards again later this year. But the bigger picture, this is a famous quote from someone, I believe it's maybe myself actually. So if you look at it from a games perspective in the games industry, they see this is the biggest trend. It's not VR, eSports is bigger. VR is a lot of tech, eSports is a consumer trend combined with the technology track of streaming and a business trend of free-to-play continuous games as a service. And game companies are starting to realize that they are facilitating three communities. One is of gamers, their traditional source, but increasingly so, the viewers that they used to see as people doing some free marketing on YouTube, like the 4 billion views that Minecraft has every month on YouTube. That's more views than there's people connected to the internet on the world, like that sort of stuff. But there's creators in the middle, and we've seen a lot of this morning, and we'll hear more about that later today. So the gamers is where we earn money. That's what the game companies think. And increasingly so, it's the creators, that's our marketing. You know, forget CPI, cost per install, all that sort of stuff. We need to get the influencers, the creators on board. And the amount of people that are creating stuff is increasing daily. And now they're saying, oh, but these viewers, who I've sort of not treated as a serious community, they are actually also part of my fan base that I'm entertaining, of which some don't even play my game. But I'm giving them so much entertainment, how can I monetize that? So that's why Blizzard, one of the bigger game companies, hired this big media guy, and they say we want to be the ESPN of esports. And there's all kinds of game companies that are suddenly building up extra divisions on esports, all to monetize the viewing audience. So there's no escaping that the interactive media space, and games is of course per se interactive, is heading that way at an enormous speed. And the interest from the broadcasting media is increasing as well. And this year is going to be pivotal in seeing what happens with all the experiments. Turner sets up its own league. BBC just broadcasts big championships. So everybody has their own approach. So at the end of this year, invite me back or next year, and we'll do a full evaluation. And what's cool is that a company that has always been on the forefront of reality formats and stuff was very early in getting the YouTube gaming community into their formats. And this is something new that they've done. And Lawrence will be on stage, but let's look at the movie first.
My name's Ali A, and this is Legends of Gaming. The best in YouTube gaming. It's the best moment of my life.
They've assembled for an all-out epic battle.
I fell off the map. The best games. Oh my God.
I'm getting excited with this now.
Let's go! Welcome to Legends of Gaming Live.
The winner.
Sally, everyone!
This is Legends of Gaming.
Bonjour les amis, bienvenue dans Legends of Gaming.
Hey, willkommen, ik ben de Bergman en ik begrüße euch.
Let's do this, Ali.
Let's do it. I'm a wizard!
That's what I'm talking about.
No. Nice. I lured him in, baby. Thanks for letting me kill you.
Next round is mine.
How cool is that? And people have paid attention and seen that model of gamers, creators, and viewers. The first video was all about entertaining viewers with the big stadium. The second one was putting gamers, you know, the pro gamers in a central spot, making a story around them. And the third one is about the creators and making them tell a story or create content. So we've got a well-spread panel, and I think even without art, we're going to do fine. And first up on stage is, let's see, this is a random generator. Oh, it's me. Yeah, correct. Also correct. James, you're up first. Come on, James, you can do a brief introduction. This is James Glasscock of Machinima.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm James Glasscock. I've been with Machinima for about a year. Machinima is a programmer of superheroes, esports, and gaming content. Globally, we drive about 4 billion video views on a monthly basis. with about 150 million viewers. Particularly what we'll talk about today is you saw Chasing the Cup up here. We're taking a lot of our programming to premium window distribution. So historically, pre-2015, Machinima was primarily distributing its content on Twitch and YouTube. Starting in 2015 and going forward, you'll start to see a lot more premium windows of that content in the case of Chasing the Cup, which aired on a broadcast network in the United States. I'll talk more about it on the panel.
Cool.
Thanks, James. Next up, all the way from the UK, is Lawrence Jones of Endemol. Let's see if I'm correct. Yep. This is Lawrence Jones, Endemol. Endemol Shine Group. Sorry.
Good morning, everybody. Lawrence Jones, Commercial Director, Endemol Shine UK for the last 2.5 years. And prior to that, I was Managing Director of Initial Television, which was one of the TV companies creating TV content for Endemol UK. I sort of accepted the invitation to come to this panel and then asked myself, why am I on the panel? And I thought of 3 key areas I'm looking at now and in charge of. Endemol Shine Beyond in the UK is creating online video content like Legends of Gaming we just saw. I'm also set up and launched, excuse my nervousness, I've also set up and launched the Endemol Shine UK video games and apps development studio in the UK. More of that in our digital upfronts tomorrow. And thirdly, I look after our live events division, which I set up last year as well. So they're the 3 reasons why I think this is a very interesting panel for me. Legends of Gaming you just saw, we launched in June 2014. It's currently at 750,000 subscribers, and I think by the end of this year, I'm reckoning about 1 million subscribers and 150 million views. It's a channel dedicated to gaming, and it's dedicated to creators talking about gaming. We've put them into a competitive environment, playing all the top games out there, and each year it culminates in a live event. The live event this year is on the 10th and 11th of September at Alexandra Palace in London. Tickets aren't on sale yet, but early bird discounts out there later. And what you also saw is we've managed to do what we do with our TV shows and sort of spread it globally. We've taken it into 6 different countries now. So it's in the UK, the US, Germany, France, Poland, Chile, and Brazil. In Brazil, it was fabulous. We 500,000 subscribers in under 2 months. So it worked really well there. So I'll talk more about that shortly. Thank you very much.
I think I'll just take Arndt's place, actually. Looks a bit weird, an empty chair there. This feels good. So to start off with you, Lawrence, what are we talking about today? How big is the trend? You know, how big should we look at this? Esports, or is it the whole everything around it, but consumer content generation? Is it an evolution or a sudden revolution? How do you see this?
I think, for me, revolution is when you talk about things like, I think we talked about it before, you talk about things like Uber and Airbnb, where you've got businesses that have been going, you know, there have been hotels and there have been cab firms out there for hundreds of years, and then all of a sudden there's a revolution where you don't actually need to own a cab or own a hotel to run a business. I think this isn't about revolution for me, this is about evolution. I think gaming has only really been around for, 100 months rather than 100 years. And I think eSports is just a natural evolution of online multiplayer sort of competition. I think what's interesting is that just because that's married to the growth of gaming in general, where mobile phones have led the way with that, it's just the audience has grown very quickly, and so people are just suddenly noticing it.
Yeah, and there's, how do you see that? James, you've been around for a long time. Machinima has been at the forefront of how it all started. Is this an evolution? Where does esports fit in?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is an evolution. Since the beginning of video games in the home in the late 70s, people have been competing some of the first tournaments in the 80s. And then I think you see enabling factors occur sort of every decade. So in the 90s, you have really the growth of the PC and then online gaming. In the 2000s, I think it's really interesting when you see recessions occur. That gives people a lot of free time for both creativity and playing video games.
That's good.
After the Great Recession of 2008, 9, 10, you really had this massive growth of Twitch, which was for the first time a platform that made it very easy for some gamers to actually quit their jobs and become full-time gamers.
Yeah.
So things keep evolving, and it'll be exciting to see what happens over the next 5 to 10 years. But now we're at 300 million fans of eSports, so that's starting to rival major leagues. Like the NFL and the NBA in the United States. Yep.
Yeah, indeed. And but you Machinima, originally you let consumers create communities around themes, whatever they wanted with video. And I think even back in the day, it was, if you let consumers do it, they group around games a lot, don't they? So the center of a community, if you let it to consumers, is often game related.
It is. What's interesting about gaming and esports is it's a very tribal phenomenon. It crosses borders, so you can have gamers plugged in the UK talking to people in Korea who are also talking to people in Los Angeles. So it really crosses the boundaries because the nature of the gameplay doesn't change regardless of the geography that you're in.
Yeah. And on Twitch has accelerated, as everybody knows. If this is a fact that actually nobody really knows, but on Twitch, 21.3% of the views are generated by esports, and the other 78% is generated by people streaming from their game to other consumers, so direct consumer-to-consumer stuff. With, I think it's 80 million hours a month on esports on Twitch alone, so that's good. So I estimate about 250,000 hours a month on esports as a whole. So that's indeed pretty significant. And you, Lawrence, where were you and what time of day was it when you realized, hey, this game stuff and the combination with video, this is something I need to be on top of, or Endemol needs to be on top of? In the shower, where were you? When was that?
It wasn't the shower. It was at work. When Endemol, it was when we were Endemol rather than Endemol Shine. We created something called Endemol Beyond, where we did a big investment into online video, essentially creating new intellectual property online, essentially in YouTube, and we just took a look. We had a few people in the office that were under the age of 23, and we sat down and said, right, what areas, what genres should we look to create content in? And I think 7 out of the top 10 YouTubers in the UK, when we looked at it, were gamers, were commentating on gaming. So much, I got so excited about that I recently bought the company. So the talent company that owns, that looks after 7 of those gamers, is now owned by Endemol Shine. So it was just that moment of seeing how many people were actually commentating on gaming rather than playing games.
Yeah. Do you have specific moments in your life that you think, hey, that surprised me, and then I realized, this is really unstoppable or big? Where were you?
2 moments. One in 1999, I used to go in the office and play Half-Life with my friends. So we would set up 5 computers in the office, have them networked, and we were essentially doing esports in the office. But I didn't really know what that was or what it meant at the time. We were just having fun. Then the second time really is when I joined Machinima, I knew esports was big and important, but not how important. And there's a very knowledgeable team at Machinima that have been doing it for a long time. At one point, one of the largest programmers on the Twitch platform. So those were really sort of the 2 key times for me. And then since then we've really stepped up our efforts to think about things like chasing the cup for television and some new programming we'll be introducing later this year.
Yeah, cool. I remember that I did a panel in San Francisco a year ago on the same topic, and I wanted to have a YouTuber on the panel. So I didn't get the top, but I got a pretty okay YouTuber, and he was super young. So I thought I have to look after him like a father. So he came on the panel and he introduced himself and he told this story. Okay, I've got 20 people now. We're running one of the biggest advertising channels on YouTube, and if anybody's interested, please come and we'll make a good deal. So he had sort of set up this whole company behind him already, and I thought, whoa, as if even sort of the in the middle YouTubers have 20 people working for them as a company. This guy was 18. Whoa, this is serious stuff. related to esports. So what has changed over the last years, and particularly in the sense of the traditional space and the interest from brands, interest from press? What has changed?
Well, I think you're starting to see the beginning of some consolidation, right? So Modern Times Group bought ESL and DreamHack. Turner Broadcasting is going to introduce, well, they've already introduced the E-League, and it'll launch, I believe, in May. So what's happening, I think, is esports is starting to take a similar path to other sports leagues in the evolution of sports. If you look back at other types of sports, whether it's football or basketball, they go through probably decades of getting organized, getting consolidated. As that consolidation happens, then advertisers and corporate sponsors start to step in, and there suddenly becomes a very big business in it. What's really interesting about the esports category is, though, today all of that has moved much faster thanks to enabling technologies like the internet or Twitch as a platform. And that monetization can take place much faster. It's a very economical way for advertisers and content distributors. If they want to reach millennials, it can be a more efficient approach than some of the more expensive types of traditional programming.
Yeah, I've actually heard Matt Wolf, who heads up the gaming stuff at Coca-Cola, actually quantify that it was a better investment than his investment around the Super Bowl, the NBA series, in terms of effective reach. And you're in the business of making formats that in the end should create a lot of interest from sponsors and everything. Have you seen a lot change in terms of interest from advertisers?
Well, for advertisers, I found that they've probably in the last 12 months they've engaged actively with us on our Legends of Gaming channel. We launched that channel without one viewer, without one subscriber, but with a sponsor. So they were so keen to be in this space and be associated with this space that they were willing to take that leap of faith with us. What's really, I think, where the real challenge is, being somebody who's keen on content and format, is what traditional media are going to do, what TV broadcasters are going to do, because it's about content and context in the sort of esports world. It's about the relationship between pro gamers and their fans, between pro gamers, the fans, and the game itself. And it's trying to what I think the broadcasters have to do is identify how they're going to tell a story, what story they're going to tell. Because within esports, it's about that targeting and identifying with, and then committing to and owning that arena. And I think the broadcasters they've got a challenge. We've got a challenge. I've got a challenge to work out how we tell that story. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And you take the YouTubers as a starting point, which I think is pretty smart, because if you have the game itself as a starting point, you might in future get in. Well, what are publishers going to do who say, this is my content, so I want to own or get a piece of everything you do with my game? Do you see publishers thinking in that way, or because you're doing it with Mortal Kombat? How does the cooperation with the publisher go? Are you free to do what you want, or?
Well, I think for anything that you're going to bring to a mass media platform like television, you want to work with the publisher. That's how you're going to produce the best content. We've done that. Chasing the Cup that was its third season. First 2 seasons we worked with Riot Games for League of Legends. Third season with Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment for Mortal Kombat. You have to work with the publishers, but some publishers are more hands-on than others. Riot is very active in managing their IP. We see Activision taking a very similar path, whereas Valve has partnered with Turner for their E-League on TBS. So it's unclear what is the right model. There's always something to be said about focusing on the core business. But at Machinima, we like to work with all of those models because we do focus on our core business, which is storytelling. And I think the publishers really appreciate that. That's something that we can bring to the table.
Yeah. And what about esports is super global? It crosses all the borders. While most of the media spent or advertising spent is national or local, so that sports is completely structured in a way that facilitates that. Are you expecting to sell this format to different countries as well? Do you take that same approach as this whole conference is about?
Yeah, shows like Chasing the Cup, exactly that. We are looking to sell that in exclusive windows in territories and potentially to create local formats in non-English speaking territories. That is the model. We'll have a bigger initiative out later this year, which will take a very similar path.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. What about you, Lawrence? I mean, you're in the format business, so I guess you're investing in that because
Absolutely.
you expect to be able to.
In every single territory that we've launched Legends of Gaming, we've got active discussions with broadcasters, television companies, about what shape and what form the format is that's going to work on their channel, but still enable them to keep the audience that we've managed to achieve on our YouTube channel. So they're active, and there'll be more news later this year as well.
Oh, cool. I'm curious to know how the YouTubers benefit from that. What's the business model, the agreement with them? I guess you can't really comment on that. Or?
The YouTubers within that are employed to play the game.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well done. So what's the future of this? You know, I did a keynote which was called "The Future of Games is the Future of Media," because there are powers in the digital space, from the gaming space, they don't really realize the amount of money that can be earned in the traditional media, and they say we're just going to knock over traditional media. We're going to take it over. You know, we're going to come in there and change everything. But what will the future bring? What will we see in about 2 years? How will things be different from now, do you think?
Well, I think right in the near term, it's really an interesting time where participants, whether it's platforms distributing content or advertisers that are putting their advertising dollars there, it's an arbitrage opportunity to reach this male millennial audience at a lower price point. But over time, we're going to see some consolidation. I don't see esports disrupting traditional distribution. I see it aligning with it. There's a great opportunity there. I think you see it when you see a broadcaster like Modern Times Group buy two different esports companies and TBS launching a league. Future beyond that, then let's look for other types of innovations like VR. Around esports.
Oh yeah, VR. I was in San Francisco this March, and the coolest VR thing I saw was not playing a VR game, but being a VR spectator. So I put on the goggles, and I could actually walk into a game that other people were playing. I could just stand there in the field and watch people bash each other's head in, and just stand really close, and then I could point to a rock, sit on a rock, and look down at the game. And I thought that was really cool. I'm too old to be a real pro gamer, but I love watching.
Well, if you watch Big Brother in the UK this summer, you might see a little bit of VR on that basis.
Yeah? Okay.
That's one of the cool things about esports and gaming in general. Typically, gaming is a content category that leads a lot of other content categories and innovation. So being on the field and participating in the game, when you see some of these video games, it's better to be watching it or participating virtual than to actually be live inside of it. So I think we'll see a lot more of that, and that's one of the things that VR will enable.
Yeah, and do you both see a broadening of genres, etc., to accelerate the growth and the appeal to a broader audience? I know personally I'm a fan of Rocket League. It's the only game that I can keep up with my son, sort of, because we play together, so we lose or win together. The broadening of genres, do you see that?
Well, that touches on my view on esports anyway, which I think it's better than football. I think, there are no penalties, so you get constant action. There's no human frailties, there's no injuries. So again, constant action. There's no, you don't have to abide by the laws of physics. You can hang in the air, there's no gravity issues. And I think, in addition, if esports did football, they probably have 3 or 4 footballs and some rocket-fueled cars as well. So it's definitely better than football, especially when you add in your comment about the price of media rights at the moment. It's a lot cheaper.
I think if you haven't seen Rocket League, please play it. It's sort of what if Messi would be on drugs or anything, that's how we would see his game. I'm in a car on a field in a cage, and the ball is 10 times bigger than normal, and when I score, it explodes.
But to answer your question directly, though, I mean, if you look at a recent Google stat,
getting carried away.
Apologies. But a recent Google stat said that the fastest growing audience of gaming on YouTube are female over the age of 25, which is really interesting in terms of the audience is now a lot bigger than young male. It's sort of females and families.
And I think, with tablet gaming and mobile devices, you're starting to see, I think there was just recently an announcement with Vainglory and Twitch. Mobile has been very disruptive to lots of different types of media consumption. It's going to be very interesting to see how esports evolves on a mobile device.
Yeah, that's a super cool point. I get a question a lot, and there's two things about mobile. So one is the most popular screen to view esports content and other people playing the games that you play in the evening are mobile screens. And it used to be that the game companies would ask us, how can I port my high-end game to a mobile screen? I need to be cross-screen. And now they're realizing, oh no, it's the video content for me on the smaller screens and my interactive content in the evening on the other screens. I'm actually already a transmedia cross-screen franchise. And that's why they're treating video so seriously. Suddenly, they're realizing this. The other point is esports titles. So you can't really imagine people sitting here on an iPad and being a professional sport. But in countries where mobile's first, in the Philippines, they had a Clash of Clans championship with $20,000 in prize money. And that, amongst other things, led to Clash Royale, which is also a competitive game. And in China, 24 of the top 100 grossing games have esports tournaments around it. So it's becoming a part of the DNA of games that have a bit of a core audience, to have that in them from the start. So I expect to see a lot happen on the mobile front as well. Yeah. I asked myself a question. I was doing Arndt. That was Arndt speaking, by the way. And if you were a brand or a media company here in the audience, is there anything you can say? Where should you start? What should you do? What should you look at?
Well, if you are at that starting place, you first get educated. Newzoo reports are a good place to start. Little plug. But get familiar with what are the top games people are playing, where are the tournament prizes, and look at companies like Machinima, second plug. Look at companies like Endemol for third plug. No. Pay attention to our friends at MTG, please. We love them. But as I mentioned earlier, there is this really interesting opportunity to reach this male millennial audience at a lower price point. And you cited this example with Coca-Cola. And I think the sponsors who have put their money on the table and started participating have already recognized this, and they're doubling down.
Yeah, indeed, they have recognized, because don't be misled by footage of stadiums, because it's the younger part of the esports audience that really goes there, buys the t-shirts. But it's more than half of the audience, the viewers outside, are between 21 and 35. And they have a high income, they have some kids at home, so it's the millennial audience.
Yeah. You said something super important too. A lot of gamer content on YouTube, people perceive that as, well, people are watching content for free on YouTube. They're young and they may not have money, but gamers, it's exactly the opposite of that. You think about what a gamer buys in a laptop computer. One of us may spend $8,000 or $2,000 on a laptop computer. A gamer's starting point is probably around $4,000 or $5,000. They're buying video games on a monthly basis. When you look at all the characteristics of a gamer, they spend money in lots of different areas, especially around technology products.
Yeah, we can back that up with data, by the way. Lawrence, any last tips or remarks for the audience before I close it off?
Well, I think in terms of brands and broadcasters, if they're looking at this space, it's about identifying and targeting the genre and the game they feel it's appropriate to them, and it's about using a mix of old and new media approaches to it, and then going for it long term and talking to the community, just engaging entirely with the fans and the gamers.
Yeah. Okay, I'll close it up. I hope you found this inspiring. I had a good time up here. But I think you realize that esports is in the DNA of every game or interactive entertainment nowadays. And I think games per se are in the DNA of your audience, of every audience now. The youngsters, the millennials, it's in their DNA. So if you're in media, somehow you'll have to act and embrace the world of gaming, including esports. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.